us started with a little bit of an icebreaker, since we host the Don't Just Watch the Movie Book Club here in this very theater where we talk about the best adaptations from page to screen. I have to ask, what is your favorite book to movie adaptation?
Remind us of him. Oh.
That's a good answer.
Great answer. Y'all go first. I have to think about this.
Hunger Games, 100%. Yeah, first one. Yeah, I'm really a big Jennifer Lawrence fan. The way Peeta really falls in love with Katniss, I'm a fan. I can't do it, but it's. Oh yeah, oh so sorry. You want it?
Nope, I do not want it.
The Notebook.
Oh yeah, that's a really good one.
Wait, that's a book? I'm so sorry. I didn't know.
It was before you were born.
Yeah.
I'm just a huge fan of John Green, so I'm gonna say The Fault in Our Stars.
Oh! That's a great one.
That is a good one.
I'm gonna say Jane Eyre because it's all I can think of right now.
It's really
Also,
fun. And it just got a new announcement in the last week. It's gonna have a new one.
Yeah, with Amy Lou Wood.
Yeah.
She would be perfect.
Well, Colleen, it is really exciting that so many of your books are being adapted right now. I mean, later this year we've got Verity to look forward to, and obviously we have Reminders of Him here. Do you feel like there's been sort of a readership change over the last few years where people are finding you through TikTok and now finding you through movies?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think TikTok changed the game for a lot of authors. Book Talk just really took off like in 2021, 22. And before that, like I was just really like blown away, by my career, but then didn't know that it could get better. And then TikTok happened and it was insane. And yeah, I'm just so grateful. I'm not on it anymore, mental health. But I'm so grateful for it, yeah.
Reminders of Him represents so many different people and so many different kind of stories that a lot of people can relate to. Where did you pull inspiration for writing this story?
Oh gosh, I am really nosy. So, like when I'm at a restaurant, like I spy on people, I just love to listen in on people's conversations, and I take a lot of inspiration from that. But for this story in particular, I remember it started from a conversation with my little sister who was in college studying prison reform, and just about how hard it is for people who, leave the system and don't have support, and just are really trying to get their lives back together, and that kind of inspired Kenna's story.
Vanessa, I feel like adapting a film from a novel is a really difficult task. It's something that a lot of people, I feel like, would shy away from because you're not going to please everybody, but this is totally your bread and butter. You adapt a lot of works. In fact, you have done a 2017 Little Women adaptation for BBC, as well as several contemporary stories leading up to Reminders of Him. What draws you to adapting such beloved works? Is there any fear in doing that?
A little, but I think I actually weirdly you're right. I have adapted quite a few books, but that's not necessarily a thing that I'm drawn to do. I just loved the story. I just loved Reminders of Him when I read it, and I could see it in my head, and I think that for me, the thing about adapting something that's beloved and contemporary is to try and stay as true as possible to what's on the page and try and just bring it to life rather than going rogue and doing my own thing. Yeah.
What did the process of getting started with this one look like?
Well, a lot of reading the book, listening to the audiobook, and marking up the book a lot, making playlists, and then just getting a lot of reference images together and finding films that I thought were good references too. And I think just sort of sitting in the emotion of it a lot, walking around with all those feelings inside of me.
I'm sorry.
Tyreek, I saw an interview where you said you felt very connected to Ledger's story, specifically that he's gone through a lot of loss. Do you feel like that connection made this an easier role for you to connect to, or do you think that made it a little more challenging in some ways?
That's a great question. Thank you for that question. I think a little bit of both. I think, you have a pool to pull from, and I think being connected to the story, you know, both in the grief of losing a loved one, but also grieving, you know, he used to be an NFL football player, and I think grieving sports, which was a big identity, and I think he's going through an identity crisis. So yeah, I think knowing what Ledger was feeling, but also I think being confronted with those feelings every day, showing up. You know, it's a pretty long shoot, and so yeah, I think that's the part where it makes it a little more difficult, because, you know, I think it's a cathartic thing, but you have to walk that line so you don't, you know, spill over into the negative. So yeah, I think a little bit of both.
I'm really glad you said that. That kind of brings me to a question I had for Micah. This is a very kind of tough role. Kenna's been through a lot of hardship. She's had a lot of sadness in her life and heartbreak. Do you find it cathartic to have a role like this, where at the end of the day you can kind of shake it off, or does it sit with you for a little while?
I think it's cathartic. I think that there's something really beautiful about every day, and especially in a role like this, that there's like such a range of emotions. To sort of like get everything out. So it was challenging in ways, but also really rewarding, I would say, yeah.
There's a lot of vulnerability in playing a role like Kenna, and with all of the hardship and everything that she's seen, what sort of preparation did you do to get into a character like her?
Well, it was so lovely. You don't always get this on every movie, but we really had like time to do rehearsals, and not like your typical rehearsals where we just be running scenes, but Vanessa had a very particular way of like bonding us, and I think initially I was like very hesitant, like I don't know, I was like very uncomfortable, and it actually turned out to be so incredibly special. But I think all of that sort of prepared us, prepared me, prepared like me to be able to be completely open to Tyreek, and like have this sort of chemistry that was so necessary for this project, because we had the time. Yeah.
Awesome. Ledger has so much empathy for Kenna, especially after he kind of meets the person behind the situation, who they've known kind of tangentially for a long time. Tell us a bit about how that empathy informed your portrayal of Ledger. Do you think you would have had kind of a similar response to Kenna? Do you think there's kind of an arc to how those relationships would build?
Yeah, I think his empathy is what drives this movie. I think initially reading the script, you're apprehensive of, you know, allowing Kenna in, and I think that's the beauty of being an actor is, you know, we had many sessions with Vanessa, and she just challenged us not to judge the character, and I think as an artist, that's my job, is to walk in those shoes, those boots, if you will. But yeah, I think that journey of empathy and understanding is what Ledger's, that's his challenge, that's his obstacle, and I think that's Kenna's way in, and yeah, I think tracking that journey is what helped, you know, formulate the storyline, and it was fun to keep track of, and having the book, Colleen's Mind, on it, I think that was a cheat code, knowing exactly what he is thinking and what he should be thinking, and kind of having Kenna's perspective too helped inform that and the holistic aspect of understanding what she's going through, because the reality is Ledger could never know what Kenna's going through. He can only try his best, and I think that's what life is trying our best to understand what us humans are going through. So yeah.
That's great. My last question here, Colleen, how does it feel to be the biggest name in the book world? You keep people talking, you keep people engaged, you keep bookstores open.
Honestly, like, this is very surreal. Like, I go home and I just, you know, like, be a mom and a wife and watch Bravo. And I go on these tours and I'm like, what is happening? I don't know, it's just, I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for this opportunity. I'm very grateful for these guys. I just feel like this movie was in such good hands, and still, like, I'm just blown away by the outcome of it and how well they did. She's so talented. Like, what they will say is like, before a really challenging scene would be like in the trailer, dance at a Pink Pony Club, and then you're out sitting in a field crying. And I'm like, how? How do you switch that? But yeah, it's just crazy. Y'all are so talented. I'm so grateful.
That was my last question, but now I have to ask what you watch on Bravo.
Everything. I'm such an addict of every housewife, Below Deck, all of it.
Well, let's have a final. Wait.
No, amen. I was saying amen.
Let's have a final round of applause for everyone up here.